Hi, friends all over the world. I'm so thrilled to be able to connect with you live and to get to interact. I know you've been looking at my face for a while, and now I get to look at your face if you want to have if you want to do a video question. And we've been fielding some questions that have been coming in, and I've been taking a look in the tribe and seeing some themes that are coming up. So I'll quickly just start with a recap and a summary of where we are in the journey. And then I really want this to be time for us to interact. I want you to feel free to reach out. Even if the question feels silly, I guarantee that if you are having it, probably someone else is as well. So this is really the time to ask your questions and to get all your burning queries answered. So we're about halfway through the journey, a little bit less than halfway through our quest. And so far, this part one of the journey has been all about getting good at meditation. And then part two of the journey is going to be about getting good at life. And they're quite different, part one from part two. Part one is all about giving you these tools, tacking these tools on top of themselves so that you can start to have a morning practice that you can do on your own. And then part two of the M word is all about giving you guided visualizations for more specific real life situations. So far, you guys have learned the balancing breath, which we're going to talk about. We've had a lot of questions coming up about what if I'm blocked on one nostril? What if I can't do it? Why this hand? So I'm going to talk you through the nitty gritty of that. So we do the love bomb, and then we do come to your senses, which is something that you can utilize even outside of the meditation. This is something you could do with your waking state. Something you could do waiting in line at the post office before you're about to have some sexy time. Really, anytime you want to come into your body and into the right now. And then we're going to talk about the effortless silence, which is probably quite different for most of you. It's quite different from most other styles of meditation. And as you're probably already learning, it's not that silent. There's always going to be stuff going on in your life. There's always going to be stuff going on in your brain. But when I say silence, I mean just not guided. And that's when, a lifetime of stress and trauma and sadness and anger can start to bubble up to the surface. So if you're having some of that, if you're having some emotions coming up and out, know that that's very, very normal. It's very common for this part of the story. And then after that effortless silence, we move into the love bomb. And that's really a lot of the questions that I'm getting around the love bomb are, Emily, I don't feel that sensation. It's hard for me to hold on to that sensation. So it's hard for me to, blast it out to the world. But please know that it doesn't matter exactly how you're feeling viscerally. What matters is that you're engaging your imagination and that you have the intention of sending that love out, to the room, to the city, to the state, to the country, to the planet, and then out to the whole universe. So it's really about your intention, and it's about waking up your imagination. And all of these elements combined together in this specific sequence, this is the M word technique. And I've been moving you through very deliberately, stacking each technique on top of the other. And I know you're probably a little sick of me, guiding you through, okay, Emily, we get it. But I want you to really get this stuff in your bones so that you can start to do it on your own. And that's some of the questions that I was starting to get. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up for some of the questions that people were submitting. And the first one is from Jill. And she said, I've been trying to meditate before and after work. I feel I cannot relax as well in the morning. What type of meditation should we be doing after 2 p.m.? So really good questions, Jill. And as far as what type of meditation you should be doing in the morning, I highly recommend you do the M word technique first thing in the morning, before coffee, before breakfast, before computer. And it doesn't matter if you feel relaxed. It doesn't matter really if you're enjoying the meditation itself. Sometimes meditation is going to be enjoyable. Sometimes it's delicious. Sometimes it's like a eucalyptus steam bath. And other times it's just like a boring shower. But either way, you got to do it every day. Just like you're not going to be like, 2 weeks ago, I took a really lovely shower. In a couple weeks, I'm going to get back around to that showering thing. It's like, no, you get dirty every day, so you got to shower every day. And similarly with meditation, you're going to be picking up stress every day, so we got to meditate every day. And some of the times it's going to feel really blissful and relaxing and enjoyable. And oftentimes it's going to be not relaxing and your brain is going to be going a million miles a minute. And maybe you're having some sadness or some anger coming up during it. And here's the secret. I'm not that interested in how much you're enjoying the meditation itself. I'm interested in how well you're performing at life. And that's what we're going to cover in part two. But even already, I want you to start to gauge your progress and your success based not on what's happening in the chair, but rather what's happening with your eyes open when you're delivering your fulfillment and bliss throughout your life, throughout your job and with your family and with your kids and just everyday life. Because as you guys know by now, I believe that we meditate to get good at life, not to get good at meditation. And then you asked what kind of meditation should we be doing after 2 p.m. So spoiler alert, that is everything that we're going to learn in part 2. So part 2 is going to be specific guided visualizations that you can use for real life situations. So I would say hold your horses on that one. Just do the M word technique in the morning. And then once we move into part 2, you're going to get those questions. Okay, cool. So next question is from Sylvia. And she said, when doing the practice on my own, is there a specific time limit for each one of the techniques? Great question. Okay, so we haven't addressed this very much in the quest so far. So we're going to spend quite a bit of time tonight talking about timing and alarms and how long or short things can be. But I would say approximately 15 to 20 minutes. So the M word technique in total wants to take you approximately 15 to 20 minutes, depending on how much time you have that morning. And the time breakdown, and I very much recommend that you have a timepiece near you. So there's a really cool app. You could just literally use your watch and time things with your watch, but there's also a cool free app called The Clocks. Let me see if I can find it here. It's just called The Clocks. You can get it on the App Store. And the icon, can you see this? Oh, I don't know if you can see that. It just looks like a clock. And then it turns your phone into just a big digital clock. And then you don't have to worry about touching anything or swiping anything or putting in any codes. It doesn't go dark on you. It just basically, if you don't have a clock in your house, which a lot of us don't anymore, this is a nice alternative. So I would say know what time it is when you're starting. Let's say you're starting at 6:42 a.m. and let's say you're going to do this for 20 minutes. So you're going to go until 7:02 a.m. And it's almost like you want to set your little internal alarm clock for 7:02. And then I recommend starting with the balancing breath. And I would do balancing breath for about 2 to 3 minutes, whatever feels charming to you. And if you're curious about how much time has passed, just open your eyes and check your watch or check the clock. But balancing breath, about 2 to 3 minutes. And then we move into the come to your senses. And that can take around 4 to 5 minutes. And notice that I'm giving you a window and a range. I don't want you to feel super rigid about this or super attached to the timing. I'm just giving you a loose framework and then you can start to play with this. But 4 to 5 minutes with the come to your senses, just moving through the subtle and the gross sensations and then stacking them on top of each other. And then I would recommend about 5 minutes of that effortless silence. And that is going to be the trickiest one to time because you're going to notice that your relationship with time changes quite a bit. As we use that word one as an anchor to drop us down, your state of consciousness shifts, which impacts your relationship with time and your perception of time. And so you might find that 2 minutes feels like 100 minutes, that 5 minutes feels like 1. And so what I want you to do is just check the time anytime you're curious and start to train yourself to feel what that 5 minutes is. And know that you actually do have a very strong and powerful internal time barometer. It's just none of us are using it because we're using our phones to think for us. And then after about 5 minutes of the effortless silence, you just check. And if 5 minutes has passed, great. Then you close your eyes, you let go of the word inside, and then you move into the love bomb. And the love bomb you could do for, 3 to 4 minutes. I'm not great at math, but I think that works out. So we've got like 2 to 3 minutes. If you do 2 to 3 on the breath, 5 minutes on the come to your senses, 5 minutes on the effortless silence. And then we do about, 4 or 5 minutes with the love bomb, then that should be perfect. And all the while, when you're curious about the time, you just check. And if one section wants to last a little bit longer, you want to luxuriate in one of the sessions, then just do that. And if you need to shorten it because you're running out the door, then just shorten it. But that's a good ratio to start with. I'm sure I'm going to get 100 more questions on that. Okay, so Sylvia had another question. Can I also do the meditation before I go to bed? And I would not recommend doing the M word before bed because specifically that effortless silence part of it is going to be very, very restful for your body and very rejuvenating. And so that is going to make you afterwards, you could probably are already noticing this, that you start to feel quite energized, quite refreshed, like you've, taken a power nap for your brain. And so I wouldn't recommend doing that right before bed because then you're going to have all this energy and all these great ideas and no one to tell them to but your cat. So instead, instead, it's better to do that first thing in the morning instead of right before bed. Okay, cool. So Tracy asked, how long is it recommended that we stay in effortless silence? Is longer time in silence better? Okay, so Tracy, to start, I would recommend that you start with about 5 minutes in that effortless silence. But one way that you guys can start to advance and start to move the technique forward, if you start doing this for a month and you're really loving it and you want to take things to the next level, then you could actually increase the effortless silence. That's the first way I would recommend adapting the practice. So you could take the 5 minutes and then the next day increase it to 6. And then the next day increase it to 7. And I would say you could take that all the way up to about 10 or 12 minutes of effortless silence. But for right now, 5 minutes is totally fine. Okay, so I think it's Mocha. Says, can we substitute the word one with another of our own for the purpose of the mantra? So I would not recommend this. I chose one very specifically. It's not arbitrary. It's not random. It's actually the best word for this particular sequence and for this particular style of meditation. It's the perfect level of depth and powerfulness. Power, I guess, is a better way to say that. Now, the exception to that would be if you have already taken the 4-day Ziva meditation course with me and gotten your own personalized mantra, or if you've taken a course somewhere where you've already gotten a personalized mantra, then you could use that mantra instead of the word one. But otherwise, I would recommend sticking with the word one. And there's lots of reasons behind it, but there's a lot of neuroscience research that was done at Harvard, like in the neuroscience department at Harvard back in the 70s. And that is what I base the M-word technique on. Okay, cool. So Astrid is saying, how important is it to meditate in the morning versus other times of the day? And how long should the meditation be? So in the morning is just the best way. It's like the way to make sure that you get it done. And as you guys know, part 1 of this course is all about priming your brain for the day. So I recommend that you wake up, freshen up, meditate. Wake up, freshen up, meditate. If you want to take a shower, great. If you want to wash your face, great. But almost as soon as your rising time, that's when your first meditation wants to happen. Here's my goal in life. I want to make it as rude for you to leave your house without meditating as it would be for you to leave your house without brushing your teeth. It's like, you need to handle that. You need to clean that stress up. So just like you don't leave your house without brushing your teeth, I don't want you leaving your house without meditating. You don't want to interact with humans until you've freshened up your brain machine. Okay, a couple more questions, and then we can open it up to some video and live questions. So Linda is asking, when doing the M-word technique on my own, how do I manage time for each part as well as the overall length? So Linda, we just covered that. So just to reiterate for everybody, I'd recommend about 15 to 20 minutes total, and no more than 3 minutes with the balancing breath, and about 5 minutes, and then 3 or 4. So you can just play with those techniques, but somewhere around that ratio should be good. So Jim is saying, I'm having trouble feeling the 5 senses simultaneously. So Jim, you're not alone. I sometimes have a hard time with it as well. Instead of worrying about feeling all 5, which is quite a bit to hold in your awareness simultaneously, just really play. Like, see, well, today I can really hear and feel, but I can't really taste. Or today I can really see and smell, but I can't really hear anything. And so you could actually start with just 2, so once move through all 5 of the senses individually, but then when you start stacking them on top, maybe for a couple of weeks, you simply hear what you're hearing and feel what you're feeling, and just do 2 at a time. And once that starts to feel pretty easy, then you can add in the sight and just really start to stack them on top of each other. And if it needs to be 2 and then 3 and then 4 and then 5, then great. But know that I've been doing this for a really long time, and still it's tough for me to really viscerally hold all 5 of my senses. What I'm really trying to get you to do is just to give yourself permission to be deliciously human and so present in this moment right here, right now. But don't worry too much about if you're actually feeling all 5 senses. So Patricia says, when we're in the phase of effortless silence and we notice pain, anxiety, or anything intense that's emerging, how are we supposed to react? So Patricia, this is an awesome question, and I'm so glad that you asked it, and I know that you're not alone. Now, I would argue that the whole point of this effortless silence, it's quite different than the other styles of meditation that we've learned so far. It's quite different from mindfulness. And this is more akin to what I teach at Ziva. This is more similar to the techniques that we use at Ziva. And it's all about going in and getting rid of the lifetime of stresses we've all been accumulating in our body. And sometimes that will come up and out in the form of some tears, some sadness, some anger, some anxiety, sometimes just really racy thoughts, sometimes fatigue. And so if it's happening in the sitting itself, let's say you're having a great day, you got a raise at work, you're dating a new amazing person, you just got a new apartment, and you sit down to meditate and you close your eyes and suddenly there's water coming out of your eyes. You're like, that's weird. Why am I crying? I'm having a great day. Well, you're not necessarily crying because of whatever's happening in your life right now. Sometimes you could be letting go of a lifetime of accumulated stress, but the mind is going to assign itself to whatever's going on in your life right now. So if it gets really intense, like extreme nausea or extreme headaches or extreme emotional pain, what I'd love for you to do is keep your eyes closed, but let go of the word inside. Just cut the cord to the anchor of the word, and instead just gently allow yourself to scan the body and bring your awareness to that physical sensation. Just bring your awareness to that sensation and let it talk to you. Let it say whatever it needs to say. Similar to what we do in the come to your senses when you're feeling the tangible, visceral feeling in the body. Just scan the body and ask, what's the most prevalent physical sensation happening for me? And then if your heart is racing, then just let it race. Put all your attention on that and let it say whatever it needs to say. Usually it'll get more intense and then it will dissipate. And then scan your body again. What's the next most prevalent sensation? Might be nausea. And then just feel it. Gently allow your awareness to rest on that sensation. Let it say whatever it needs to say. Let it communicate whatever it needs to communicate. It will get more intense and then it will dissipate. And then we do that 3 or 4 times. Then we're usually back in our body. And then you can pick back up the word and go back into the M word technique. So that's a really good question. Know that you're not alone. So that's what you do if the intensity comes up in the meditation itself. Now, if intense feelings and old, yucky, unstressy rage and anxiety and sadness starts coming up with your eyes open, then what I recommend are a lot of naps, a lot of baths, and a lot of walks. So take very good care of your body as your soul is detoxing. As we're detoxing the nervous system, just be really gentle to the body. And I mean actually take a bath. If you don't have a bathtub, maybe go to your gym or to a spa and just submerge yourself in water. Get a massage, take a walk, write angry journal entries. But our theme song wants to be better out than in, especially in these first few weeks. So if you're having some intense emotions, please don't think there's anything wrong with you. Just know that it's like a bit of a floodgate coming up and out, and it's going to dissipate pretty soon. And rest. Good. Okay, so Cassandra's asking, how do I get my teenage kids to practice meditation? Are there any incentives that I can use? Okay, so great question, Cassandra, and I am with you. I want to get all of the world's teenagers meditating. I think it's going to make better adults. And I wish I had these practices when I was a teenager. It would have made my 20s so much easier. So big picture, the best thing you can do to get the people in your life to want to meditate is clean your own house. You just keep meditating every day. Come hell or high water, you just keep getting to the chair. And you're going to be up-leveling and shining brighter and getting happier and starting to perform better. And you're going to be more radiant. You're going to be more fun, more funny, more charming. And then the people around you are going to wonder, well, what is that? What does she have? I want some of what she's having. Even your teenagers, right? But as you know, with teenagers, you can't force them to do anything. You can't make them meditate. Trust me, I have tried, okay? If I could make people meditate, I would. I'm not controlling. But I've learned the hard way that the best thing you can do is just clean your own house and lead by example, and just when people come to you with questions, share your own experience. Now, if you want to kind of, stoke the fire and speed this process along, one of the things you can do is talk about the neuroscience. I think that people really respond to neuroscience because a lot of people think that meditation is really hippy dippy and airy fairy and a waste of time. And as you guys know, like our mission at Ziva is to rebrand meditation as a productivity tool. And we're all about giving high performers tools to perform at the top of their personal and professional game. So I think if you start to reframe it, it's not you're meditating for the sake of meditation, but it's going to make you better at school. It's going to make the girls want to sleep with you more, or it's going to make you better at sports, or it's going to give you better test scores. Like whatever it is that people are struggling with, if you start to let them know, if you start to gently share with them how stress makes us stupid and how meditation starts to make us smarter and perform better, that's how I've had the most success in inspiring people to want to learn. But here's the thing you got to know is that we can't be evangelical about this thing. You know, we can't go door to door and be like, hey, have you heard the good word about Ziva meditation? Because then it's, it just turns people off and they have to really come to it at their own time. So I'm not saying be secret about it. Like if you want to share it, please do. The people who are meant to see it will. So I hope that is helpful. And good. So Simone is asking, to fit a meditation and yoga practice in before work, I need to get up at 4 a.m. Will the meditation practice prevent me from dropping out of this routine after a while because the early start may become too much? I want to set myself up for success, not failure. Is there a way to integrate the practice into a demanding work schedule without sacrificing sleep? So really good question, Simone, and I'm sure that you are not alone. But so a couple of things you can do here. One is do an experiment. Okay, so right now you're about 16 days in, and I want you to start to see how you feel when you get up and you do the M word and yoga before work. Do you have more energy? Are you more clear? Are you more creative? Are you more kind? And if that is the case, if your work is getting done, if you're doing less, if you're doing more in less time, then it would suggest that you actually would be better off getting up and sacrificing a bit of sleep in order to meditate. But if you find that sacrificing that sleep is not helping you and not helping your performance, then absolutely you can integrate this into your workday. I recommend, depending on where you work, sometimes I'll have people sneak like a little pillow into their office and put it under their desk and sneak away to a stairwell. Or sometimes they'll have lactation rooms that aren't being used all 24 hours a day, so you can book it out for a little bit of time. Sometimes you can simply pop your headphones in your ears with no music, and that's just the international sign for I don't want to talk to you right now, and you just sit at your desk and you just do it there. Now you might have to abbreviate it a little bit at work, maybe it's 10 or 15 minutes, but I do believe that some meditation is always better than no meditation. And what you're going to find is that it gives you this big hit of energy and productivity and creativity on the other side of it. But I teach a lot of fitness trainers. I teach a lot of actors and actresses that are, they also have to get up at 4 in the morning because they have to be on set at 6. And even then, I still recommend that they do it first thing in the morning before coffee, before breakfast, before computer, just because you don't really want to interact with human beings until you've cleaned your brain machine. Good. So that is all of our pre-selected questions. I'm happy to open it up now to some video Q&A or to some questions that are coming in. Okay, so this is from Maria. Emily, I love your program. Thank you very much. My question is, why do I need to sit up when I've done meditation lying down in the past and have been told that I could? So thank you for your sweet comment, and thank you for going on this journey with me. So you've probably been told a lot of things about meditation before that I would invite you to just take and throw it right out the window. Okay, and just really let the M-word technique be the M-word technique instead of trying to make it like or not like anything that you've heard about in the past. In my experience, if you do particularly this style of meditation and particularly the effortless silence, if you do this thing laying down, you're just going to fall right to sleep, and you already know how to take a nap. You don't need to give me and Mind Valley a bunch of money to learn how to nap. You already know how to do that. So in this practice, it's really important, back supported, head free, and that's going to keep you sort of dancing on the cusp in between waking state and sleeping, and that is where the magic happens. That state of consciousness that you're accessing in that in-between state, that's where the right and left hemispheres of the brain start to function in unison, and that is where you start to increase neuroplasticity and strengthen the corpus callosum. And if you just fall over into sleep, then that's just a nap, and you already know that. Cool. Thanks for asking. Good. Okay, and you guys can just keep the questions coming because I'll go pretty fast. If you want to pop them up here, feel free. So this is from Ramil. Can we use any finger in closing the left and right nostrils? Oh yeah, so let's talk about the balancing breath for a minute. it's pretty specific. I want you to use your right hand. I want you to use your thumb and your ring finger. I mean, if you have some sort of a problem with it, then yes, you can adapt. But these are on purpose. Just like in different, in some yoga poses, they'll use mudras, and the finger positions are important, and they do different things. They send different signals to your brain and body. Same thing with this. The right hand matters, the thumb matters, the ring finger matters. I'm not just arbitrarily making this stuff up. It's all been pretty carefully researched and curated. Now, if you need to adapt for some reason, don't panic, don't sweat it. Just do what you need to do. But I would recommend thumb and ring finger and your right hand. Now, if you're stopped up one day and you can't breathe on both nostrils, don't panic. Just do it on one side. It's a-okay. That's still going to slow everything down, and it's going to act like a bow on that bow and arrow to surrender into the practice. Good. So this is, I don't know how to say your name, but Yasmilda, I think. I've been told before that I should not meditate close to the time of going to bed. Do you share that opinion? Yes, I do. And we just covered that. We don't want to meditate before bed. Good question. It's going to make you too energized and give you too many good ideas where you'd rather do that earlier in the day. So Julie's asking, when we start to meditate on our own, can we listen to meditation music, or do we meditate in silence? Great question, Julie, and I get this all the time. But here's the good news. Now that you have these techniques in this sequence, you're going to find that they're much more powerful than listening to music. Most people listen to music when they meditate when they don't have actual techniques and when they don't have training, because music is a right brain phenomenon, and it's helping you to access your right brain. Whereas now that you have these techniques, and now that you know how to use the word one as an anchor, that's going to be much more powerful than listening to music or external stimulation. Now, if you want to listen to binaural beats or something other times of the day, please feel free. There's different ones that will help you focus at work or help you fall asleep. So I'm not saying don't listen to the music, but just don't do it while you're doing these practices. It'd be better to just I want to make you self-sufficient, okay? I don't want you to have access to the perfect room and the perfect lighting and the perfect headphones and the perfect binaural beats, and your phone has to be charged in order for you to meditate. I want this to be the ultimate portable device. You can do it anywhere, anytime. So Mary is asking, is there a way to know when I have been in a part of the meditation long enough to move on to the next? A sensation, amount of time, or something else? Yeah, so good question, Mary. And the main thing that for now is just know the ultimate time you want to stay in there, what's your maximum time you want to be in the whole M-word technique, and then adapt it from there. And in the meantime, just check your watch. I know that seems sort of counter and this stresses some people out, but I don't want to check my time, and it stresses me out, and I feel like it's bringing me out of it. You guys hear me when I say this, that if you're having the thought, I wonder how much time has passed, then you've already sort of innocently floated up to the waking state. And then you just check your watch. And if it's not yet 20 minutes or however long you wanted to practice for, then you just close your eyes and you float back in. So you don't need to necessarily look for a specific cue from your body, but just check your watch and as many times as you want to. Okay, it's been about 3 minutes of the balancing breath. Okay, I'll go into come to your senses. Okay, that's been about 5 minutes. I'll move into the effortless silence. And then after a couple of weeks of this, you're going to start to just feel it. And you're going to start to just flow innocently and effortlessly between the techniques. But I want you to trust yourself. I want you to trust your body. Oh, and here's a really important point. While you're training yourself, just so you're not panicking about the time and so you don't sleep through your whole day, what you can do is you can set an alarm for about 25 or 27 minutes, just so that you have it there as a little backup plan, as a fail-safe and as a safety net to prevent you from sleeping through your whole day. So I hope that's helpful. Set a backup alarm. In the meantime, check the watch as many times as you want to. And then once you start to feel comfortable with it, you can just sort of intuit your way through it. Good. So Virginia is saying, sometimes I fall asleep while meditating. What can I do to stop that? Okay, so Virginia, this is a really great question and really important, because a lot of times, especially as people are starting a practice, they think that they're falling asleep, but actually they're just falling into this what I call the bliss field. Okay, they're falling into this beautiful, restorative, rejuvenating state of consciousness that's different than waking, sleeping, or dreaming, but it feels very much like falling asleep. So as you're training yourself, I want you to give yourself full permission to just fall into that sleepy, sloppy feeling. And you guys have probably seen me do this, but this is like a trademark move for us, okay? This is great posture for us. If you actually fall asleep, this will happen. And you'll just fall right out of the chair, or you'll wake up an hour and a half later drooling, and both of those are sleep. But if you're relatively upright and you're coming up and out approximately around the time that you set for yourself, then that is not sleep. That's just the effortless silence. And I want you to give yourself full permission to be super sleepy and lazy and sloppy with that. Now, what you can do as a backup is just set that alarm that I was just talking about, like just at the 25-minute or the 27 mark, just in case you do actually fall asleep, which is pretty normal for some fatigue to come up and out for people in these first few days and weeks. So Luis is saying, I'm a 5th grade teacher. How long should my students meditate? Great question, Luis. And I love that you are inspired to share this with your students. So a couple of things. So a couple of people have asked me about this, about the M word. And as you guys know, this is training you to be a meditator, not necessarily a meditation teacher, right? I'm actually going to start a teacher training at Ziva later on this year. But I do think it's great to introduce some of these concepts to students. And I would say to start with kids, I think about 5 minutes is a good place to start. And if that works for them, you could build up to 6 and you could build up to 7. But the techniques with kids are quite different than the techniques with adults. I find that it's usually easier for them to do more active breath work type things. Okay, so we're going to do, oh, Luis, you're here on video. Hi, Luis.
Oh, hey.
Hi.
Hi. I'm trying that. Here we go. How's it going?
So good. It's nice to see your face.
Thank you. So, I appreciate you answering your question. I meditate with my students daily. So,
and what are you doing with them now?
The 6th phase, visions.
Oh, cool.
We kind of just, I did like a short version of it though, because
Great.
I know that they get restless pretty quickly.
Yeah. And so you said, so short version, so about how many minutes total are you doing right now?
I do like 5 to 7.
Great. I love that. So I think that if that's working for you, if it's working for them, then great. I also find, kids like to experiment with other things. So, but I think 5 to 7 is perfect for 5th grade. Yeah. What we do at Ziva is that when kids come to learn, we have them meditate for as many minutes as they are old. So 5-year-olds meditate for 5 minutes, 8-year-olds meditate for 8 minutes. And then it's kind of fun because each birthday they get to add on a new minute. But I think starting around there, especially with the 6th phase, I think is perfect.
Great.
Oh, cool.
Awesome.
Sure. Nice to see your face.
And very quickly, do you have any suggestions as far as meditating? My wife's pregnant. I don't know if you just kind of do.
Congratulations. That's awesome. Okay, so I love working with pregnant ladies. I love teaching pregnant women to meditate because for my same time and energy, I get to make 2 meditators instead of just 1. And so it's really great. And pregnancy is a really important and awesome time to meditate because obviously you're very tired and you're burning up. You guys have heard me talk about the concept of adaptation energy in the webinar that I did with Vision. So adaptation energy is basically your ability to handle a demand. And when you're pregnant, you have so much demand on your body and your body's using so much energy to 3D print a human that any extra that you do is actually going right into the baby. So for pregnancy, I say just let her rip. You can go as much as and as long as feels comfortable and as much as you have time for. So I think, and no, don't be afraid of falling asleep. Don't be afraid of moving and adjusting. Just let yourself be as comfortable and let yourself be as luxurious as you can with the timing. Oh my gosh, who's that? Hi, Alania. It's so nice to meet you.
Igualmente, gracias. I feel like we're talking to celebrities. This is really cool.
Oh, thanks. I feel like, well, thank you so much. It is so lovely to meet your daughter and congratulations on the pregnancy. That's awesome.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Sure thing. Okay, so we have another question from Melissa, and she's saying, what do I do if I get lost in thought? So great question, Melissa. And we haven't, we talked a little bit about this on the Effortless Silence Day, and I would encourage you to watch that day's video again, if you start judging yourself for having the thoughts, and if you start judging yourself as thinking the thoughts are bad, know that that particular training on the effortless silence is a really good day video for you to revisit. So I'm probably going to talk about this differently than every other meditation teacher you've ever heard. Okay. Most people are teaching mindfulness, and mindfulness is a much more, there's a much shorter leash, and it's much more about focusing and concentrating and coming back to the breath or whatever technique it is that you're using. And I think in the translation of that in the West, somewhere we heard that thoughts are bad. Okay. I think there's like this one dude going around telling everybody that in order to meditate, you have to clear your mind. Right. And you guys have heard me say this, but I wish I could find this dude and teach him how to meditate, because it would make my job so much easier. So just know that you're going to get lost in thought. You're going to have thoughts. Some of them are going to be enjoyable. Some of them are not going to be enjoyable. Sometimes the thoughts will be fast. Sometimes they'll be slow, but it's not yours to control. The mind thinks involuntarily, just like the heart beats involuntarily. So you can't give your brain a command to shut up any more than you can give your heart a command to stop beating. And so if you get lost in thought, then great, you got lost in thought. And then when you realize that you're off on a mental field trip, that's your cue to ever so gently go back to whatever technique you were on. If you were on the breath part, then great, come back to the breath. If you're on the senses part, great, come back to the senses. If you're on effortless silence, great, come back to the word one. Don't sweat it, but know that you're not failing. You don't need to be like, oh crap, I was thinking about my taxes. Oh God, I was thinking about my ex-boyfriend. No beating yourself up, no self-flagellation. Just take the field trip. And then when you realize that you're taking a field trip, float back to wherever you were on the technique. Really good and important question. Okay, so Anessa is saying, what if I have no thoughts during effortless silence? Is that the intended goal? So if you're having no thoughts during that, then you've probably moved into or dropped into that state that I call the bliss field, which is lovely. It feels nice. It's a fun new toy, but it's not the point. It's not the goal. It's not the only time you're in it. It's not the only time it's working. It's just one of the things that can happen on the cycle that is meditation. And the tricky thing about the bliss field is that you never know that you're there when you're there, right? You're never having the thought of like, oh yes, I'm currently in bliss field and it's currently amazing, because by definition you don't know that you're there when you're there. So normally you know it right afterwards, where you're like, oh my gosh, I think I was just doing it. Oh my gosh, I'm the best meditator in the land. Wait, now I want it back. Wait, mantra, mantra, mantra. And you start using the word a lot and you start chasing the dragon. And that's all normal. What gets easier is just letting it come when it wants to and letting it last for as long as it needs to. But if we think that that's the goal, then we're going to go into that effortless silence with a lot of effort and a lot of an agenda. And as you guys know, that's the lazy part of the meditation. Really good question. Okay, so Tom is saying, I have missed multiple classes. How do I come up to date? So I'd say, Tom, don't sweat it. You're ahead of schedule. A lot of people go their whole lives and never ever experience any meditation. So no, you're ahead of schedule. There's no race. And I would just start where you left off. So if you missed day 5, then just watch day 5. And then the next day, watch day 6, watch day 7. You can still join. The only thing that's super time specific are these live calls. And you can still participate regardless of how many videos you've watched. So I would say wherever you left off, watch that day and then just build on each day. But you're ahead of schedule, no last chances. So Jonathan is asking, can we do M word with our significant other? Good question. So I think, it's totally fine to meditate together and with other people. I would say if they want to do the training, then it'd probably be good for them to sign up and register and get their own login and get their own access, and so they can join all the groups and tribes and really get the full support. But once they do that, I would say 100% do it together. It's actually really lovely to meditate in a group. At Ziva, we always, sometimes during our staff meetings, we'll have a big group meditation, and it's so delightful. Or even your pets can sort of count as a group meditation. You guys might be noticing that your pets want to be near you when you're meditating. And I would recommend, especially with dogs and cats, just let them in the room with you. Let them be near you, because dogs can actually hear that your breathing is slowing and that your heart rate is slowing. And if they're not in the room with you, then sometimes they feel like you're dying. And then they get scared and they want to get in there. Good. So Sheila, is it all right to practice the M word more than once a day? So right now, the practice is intended to be done first thing in the morning, and it's intended to be done once a day. But If you wanted to do it up to twice a day, I'm okay with that, especially up until we start part two. Because part two is really going to give you some real world meditation and some guided visualizations you can use in your life and in your day. But in the meantime, excuse me, if you want to do this like in that mid afternoon slump, then that's a totally fine time. I would say if you're going to do it twice, it'll be first thing in the morning, and the second one will want to happen where you have that like hormonal dip where that mid-afternoon slump comes. Instead of the coffee, the chocolate, or the nap, you could do the M word technique again. And then once you move through part two, then you could use some of those guided visualizations for that. Good. Lisa, I love it. You guys are coming in with so many questions, hot and heavy. We'll take a sip of tea. So Debbie is saying, can I diffuse essential oils, scented candles while I meditate, or would that inhibit the process? So I would actually say either are fine. My preference would be essential oils instead of candles, but really either is fine. Essential oils, because specifically lavender is very, very soothing, very relaxing. And if you meditate a lot with essential oils happening, then sometimes if you are feeling a little stressed, if you're needing to access creativity while you're working on something, then you could diffuse the same oil that you're used to diffusing while you meditate, and that can be a fun sense memory experiment. And candles are lovely, but I personally find that the flicker of the candle feels a little strobe-like to my eyes, and even though my eyes are closed, I find it a little I don't know, not distracting, because there's no such thing as distractions in this style of meditation, but it just hurts my eyes a little bit, that flicker. So, but either are fine. It's personal preference. It's not going to mess anything up. So Thomas is asking, what can you do if you get stuck in a particular portion, say come to your senses or gratitude, and lose track of where you are in the meditation? So Thomas, know that this is very normal. It's probably going to happen more often than not. And I would say just go with it. And then when you realize that you're lost in one of the sections of it, then you have two options. You check the time, like I've been teaching you. And if you're like, whoa, 20 minutes has passed and now I need to go get ready for work, then just take a moment or two with your eyes closed. It's always good to just close with a moment of gratitude. And you know, just, you don't want to rip the Band-Aid. You don't want to be like, 20 minutes and jump into activity, because that's going to give you some headaches and irritability. So ease out. But if you've finished your meditation time, then fine, you can just come to an easy conclusion. And if you still have time to go, then wherever you were in the sequence, then just move on to the next phase of the sequence. But know that it's really normal to get lost. And so I want you to be super luxurious with it and give yourself the space to improvise inside of this. You know, it's my job to make sure that you understand why we're doing them in this order. It's my job to make sure that you have this thing in your bones and that you can do it on your own. But then once you have the technique, then be gentle with yourself. Allow it to be fluid, and know that it doesn't have to be exactly precise, exactly 3 minutes and 5 minutes, that you can luxuriate a bit transitioning between techniques. Okay, so we have an audio question. That's exciting.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Emily. It's such an honor to be speaking to you. This is Sunaina, and I'm calling in from Dubai, UAE.
Ah, great. You know, I've never been to Dubai. I've always wanted to come. So if you ever feel inspired to organize a little meditation class, I'd love to come and meet you in person.
Definitely. Emily, my question was, you know, there are some days which are good where I'm constantly listening, and I prefer guided meditation. So when you speak, it's really like honey in my ears, and you know, it helps me to sort of float into the moment and all of that. And then there are a lot more days when I sit into the meditation and I have these 2 emails to send or 2 clients to coach, and you know, there's stuff is going on in my mind, and I started with your guided meditation, and I wake up after 15 minutes and I'm like, oh God, I haven't meditated. It's as if I haven't heard a single word that you said. So how do I overcome days like that? How do I sort of snap back? I mean, how do I know? Because the 15 minutes go and I actually don't feel good, because I'm like, oh God, I've just wasted 15 minutes and I haven't heard a single word of what, you know, I start with the breath work. And then after that, I wake up and I'm like, oh God, I have to send those 2 emails and I haven't done that. So how do I sort of, you know, have more of the deeper days and the days when I'm like just not zoned in?
Okay, so tell me what's happening. So you start with the breath work, you hear my voice, and then what happens? Do you sort of drift into something that feels a
So
bit like
yes, so
sleep, or
I'm
is it
looking
just
at
like
emails.
emails,
Yes,
taxes, boyfriends, dog
yes,
food?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
And while all that's happening, you literally don't hear my voice anymore, or you hear it, but the louder thing is all the stuff you have to do.
Yes, the louder stuff is all the louder noise is the stuff I have to do.
Okay,
Yes.
great. Okay, so really good question. I know you are not alone in this, so I'm so glad that you asked. So, a couple of things. One, know that thoughts are not the enemy. They're not the enemy at all. Even stressy thoughts, even thoughts about stuff that you have to do, even about your coaching clients, even about emails, even about taxes, even about exes. All that stuff is going to come up and out, and it's all good. It's all good. That stuff coming up and out is actually where the healing happens. That stuff coming up and out is actually the thing that's going to make you better at life. So the only thing that I would adjust about your practice is the part where you feel bad after 15 minutes when you're like, crap, I just wasted my time. I wasn't meditating because I wasn't deep, because they're not all going to be deep. They're not all going to be like, we're not interested in focusing. We're not interested in snapping back. We're more interested in allowing the body to go on whatever journey it needs to go on that day. And ultimately, big picture, we're into eradicating stress from the nervous system so that we can start to use more of our cognitive capabilities with our eyes open in our waking state. And so everything you're doing sounds a-okay. And the only thing I would shift is just being like, oh crap, I didn't meditate. That was a waste of time. Because it wasn't a waste of time. And the way that you're going to prove that to yourself is that homework assignment that you did on day one, where you wrote down what your relationship was with stress. Did you do that?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So what I want you to do is, like, in a couple of days, and then it's definitely on day 33, 34, I want you to look back on that. And I want you to start to see if things are starting to shift in your waking state with your work and your life and your sex life and your coaching clients. And then you can decide if it was a waste of time. But it's it's not about focusing. It's not about like perfectly being with me every step of the way. Know that your brain's going to drift off. Sometimes you're going to feel like you're sleeping. Sometimes you're going to be doing all kinds of other stuff. A-okay. Now here's what you can do when you realize that you're doing your taxes or sending coaching client emails. When you realize that you're off, that's your cue to ever so gently, easily, lightly float back to whatever technique we're doing in that moment. Right? So if we're on the senses, then great, you just come back to the senses. If we're on effortless silence, then great, you come back to the word one. But no beating yourself up, okay? No punishing
Yeah.
yourself for having thoughts, because thoughts are not the enemy of meditation. Effort is. And the more effort you use with this thing, the more you try to focus, the less you're going to enjoy it, and then the more likely you are to quit. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So it's basically telling myself whichever way it's working, it's working.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, there's a framework here. There's a parameter. You know what I mean? It's like you want to have your back supported and your head free, and you want to do
Yes.
this stuff in this
Yes.
order. Like there is a framework, but inside of that framework, whatever your body's reaction is that day is a-okay. And I think just giving yourself a lot of permission to let your body heal itself in the way that it intrinsically and intuitively knows how to heal, that's the way that you're going to enjoy this process the most.
So you wouldn't advise me to move the timing to like lunchtime when I take a break and have a 1 hour. No.
No, I would do. I would keep it first thing in the morning. Are you having coffee before you do it by any chance?
No, I just have some warm water with honey
Perfect. Yeah,
and lemon.
perfect. That's great. Wake up, little hot water. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, it all sounds great. The only thing I would shift is just the beating yourself up.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
It's my pleasure. It's lovely to hear your voice, and hopefully I'll see you soon.
Yes.
Good. Okay. So we have time for 3 more questions. So I would get them in while the getting's good. So Alexandria is saying, very helpful version of meditation. However, I'm finding it very uncomfortable to blast people with love and the love bomb. I assume it is acceptable to you to use gentle waves or rays or streams. 100%, Alexandria. I know that the word blast is a little aggressive. I know that the word bomb is a little aggressive. And that was kind of on purpose. It was a bit of a dichotomy of, we've got so much actual bombing happening on our planet right now. It was like, well, let's take this word back. Let's instead just blast the whole planet with love, but you can absolutely vision this as gentle waves, or sometimes people like to picture it as light, or sometimes just an energy coming out of their heart. But whatever feels good for you, and know that again, it's not about the actual visceral feeling that you're having in your body. If you're having a visceral feeling, then great, enjoy. But if you're not having that, then know that the intention is enough, and just using your imagination and sending it out there is enough. Really good question. Good. So Debbie is asking, how do I know if it's working like it should? I'm not feeling any different. Am I lacking something? Good question, Debbie. I guarantee you're not alone. There's probably a lot of people being like, well, I'm just sitting here. I'm not vibrating. I'm not levitating. I'm not able to like move my spoon with my brain or anything. And for most of us, meditation is a very subtle and gentle journey. A lot of us are expecting like, we're expecting like, oh, I'm enlightened. And we're gonna like get these techniques and it's be like flipping on a light switch. But for most of us, it's much more like sloughing off like old dirty skin, right? It's just like sloughing away old calluses. And for most of us, it's a gentle, gradual process. And so what I would invite you to do is make sure you did that homework assignment on day one. And if you haven't done that yet, definitely do it now. And what I want you to look at is, how's your sleep quality? How's your compassion? How's your kindness? How creative are you? How's your energy throughout the day? And know that for a lot of people, it gets a little worse before it gets better. That sometimes things get highlighted for deletion. And so just be really gentle with yourself through this process. And also know that people who are quite kaphic in nature, so kapha is, in Ayurvedic medicine, there's 3 different doshas or body types. There's vata, pitta, and kapha, which is basically air and space, fire, and then earth and water. So vata is air and space, pitta is fire, and kapha is earth and water. And people who tend to have quite a bit of kapha in them, people who tend to have a lot of earth and water, their journey into meditation tends to be a little slower. And they tend to not feel the effects as dramatically or as quickly. But here's the good news, is that even if all of this is just a load of crap, okay? Even if all of this is just made up nonsense, which it's not, but even if it was, just you sitting quietly with your eyes closed for a few minutes a day is going to be very good for you. Most of us have become what I call bulimic of the brain. We're just intaking, and we never really have a time to digest. I mean, think about when you're waiting at a red light, or if you're waiting at an elevator, we don't, even for 30 seconds, we pull out our phone and we scroll through social media, or we answer a few emails. And so we don't really have downtime anymore. And so even if this was just a bunch of crap and you were just sitting there with your eyes closed, that would be enough, and that would be good for you. But the reality is, these techniques are specifically designed to start to wake up different parts of your brain. They're specifically designed to start getting rid of old stresses in your body, which is going to give your brain more of its computing power back, which over time is going to help you perform better. But just know that for a lot of people, it's not super fast or super dramatic. I would just be really gentle with yourself and celebrate your successes instead of worshiping all your non-achievements. Most of us are very good at worshiping everything we have not yet accomplished. And instead, I invite you to celebrate your successes. Celebrate the fact that you're doing this thing every day. Celebrate the fact that you're watching this live stream. Celebrate the fact that you're prioritizing yourself. And then just be open to letting this thing show up as it's meant. Good. Okay, so I have a text question from Alan. You had mentioned that how you feel during your meditation is not what's important, but how you feel in your life. How long does it take before you can start to see consistent improvement in life? I still get things that stress me out and anxiety. Good question, Alan. So everyone's different, okay? Everyone is different. This thing is going to show up for people differently. And you're right, I'm not that interested in how much you're enjoying the meditation itself. I'm interested in how you're performing at life. But notice that when I say that I'm interested in how you're performing at life, I do not mean never getting stressed or never having anxiety or never being sad. And this is really, really important. So if you kind of tuned out, if you're listening to this with one ear, I need you to listen up. Okay, this is super duper important. Meditation is not going to turn you into just a little bliss bunny that never feels anything. Meditation is not going to take away your demands. Meditation is not going to take away your anxiety. It's not going to take away your sadness. You're still going to be human, okay? You're still going to feel. If anything, you're going to start feeling more intensely. So at no point did I promise in this program that you're never going to feel a feeling again. As a matter of fact, meditators tend to feel more. They feel more intensely, but they also feel faster. Okay? So imagine that you have a room and there's 20 people in the room. 10 of them are meditators, 10 of them are not meditators. And let's say a saber-toothed tiger runs in with the intent to kill. Now everybody's going to get stressed. And here's the thing to know. It's not bad for you to get stressed. I'm going to say that again. It is not bad for you to get stressed. It is terrible for you to stay stressed. It's that chronic stress that just keeps piling up and piling up and piling up. That is what is really toxic for us, and that's what decreases our performance capabilities. But it's not bad for you to get stressed, as provided that you do something to handle it, that you do something to, eradicate it from your nervous system, or that you start to adapt to it more elegantly. So 20 people in a room, 10 meditators, 10 non-meditators, saber-toothed tiger comes in. Everybody gets stressed. That's an appropriate time to get stressed. The difference between the meditators and the non-meditators are that the meditators are at the bar telling a funny story about this tiger over drinks an hour later, and the non-meditators have to pay their therapist $300 a week for the next 10 years to handle the PTSD of the tiger that attacked them during their meditation class. So this is a really important reframe, okay? So please don't expect that meditation is going to take away your feelings. If someone dies, you're going to be sad. You're going to feel it. And what's happening here is that this meditation is sort of softening the calluses and the shields that we've all been putting around our hearts. Because if you think that all this stuff out here has the ability to make you, if you're still under the I'll be happy when syndrome, that I'll be happy when I have a job or a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a car or a house or $1 million, if you give all this external stuff the importance and the ability to make you, then you're also giving it the importance and the ability to break you. Right? So you better protect yourself and you better guard yourself, which is what all these emotional calluses and shields are. But what starts to happen over time as we start meditating is we start curating and cultivating and accessing our own bliss and fulfillment in the only place that they reside, which is inside of us. And the byproduct of that is that as you come out of the meditation, you're no longer under the illusion that your happiness lives out here, because you just flooded your own brain and body with dopamine and serotonin. So you're no longer under the illusion that this one job, this one person, this one place, this one thing can make you happy. And if this stuff can't make you, then it also cannot break you. So you don't have to protect yourself from it. So you can put the shields down, you can put the calluses away, and then you start to feel more fully. You become more sensitive. Things start affecting you more deeply, but then you immediately move through to the new now. And this is why we have a stereotype of meditators being little bliss bunnies. It's why we assume that they're never feeling anything, because they seem like they're always happy, but they're not. Okay, I've taught 2,000 people to meditate face-to-face and about 5,000 people online. Hear me when I say this. Meditation doesn't make you happy 24 hours a day. What it does is that it gives you access to your bliss, which is not the same thing as happiness. Bliss is the piece of you that knows that everything's okay. And paradoxically, once you start to prove to yourself that you have access to that, it frees you up to start feeling the entire spectrum of emotions. And that, to me, is a beautiful life. It's a rich life. And so please don't hold yourself to an impossible standard. Know that it's okay to feel anxiety. It's okay to feel stressed. It's okay to feel sad. And now know that you have this beautiful tool that's going to help you to reset. It's going to help you to come back to this fulfillment and access it internally, so you can start to see your life as a means by which to deliver that, but not as a way to be numb. Really good. So I think that is a beautiful place to stop. I think that's a really valuable take home, that meditation allows us to move from need, looking for fulfillment, and instead turns us into fulfillment, looking for need. So that's a little homework assignment for you. As you go through the week this week, look at what can I contribute to this situation? How can I be more kind? How can I be more compassionate? How can I be more creative? What can I offer? What of my fulfillment can I deliver to this situation instead of what can I get? What can I take? What can you do for me? And here's the paradoxical thing that happens, is that when you start to approach life from that state of consciousness, all the stuff that you want starts to show up by accident. All right, friends, it's been so lovely to see your faces and hear your voices and read your questions. I'm truly honored to get to go on this quest and go on this journey with you. So I would love for you guys to share your thoughts about this session, and what was your key learning point. I'd love to hear that. You can do that in the chat box. I think, is that where you want us to do it, in the chat box? So what did you think about this session? Was it helpful? Was it annoying? Did you like my face? Did you not like my face? Don't write about my face. And tell me what your key learning point was. Was there an aha moment that you had? I'd love to learn that. So yeah, so I'd say my big takeaways from this session are, one, that the timing is something that we really didn't touch on the timing too much in the training so far. And so a lot of people are coming up with timing questions, which is important. And that's exactly where we are in the training. You're starting to move from me guiding you through the M word technique and you starting to move into doing it on your own. So just to reiterate that, 15 to 20 minutes total is what you want to do for the M word technique. And then those chunks you can do really as long as feels comfortable to you. About 3 minutes on the balancing breath, about 5 minutes on the senses, 5 minutes on the effortless silence. And then you can play with the gratitude and the love bomb for whatever time you have left. So the timing was a really good one. And then I think this other point about why is the meditation, why am I still having stress? I'm meditating now. I'm 16 days in. Like, shouldn't I be enlightened by now? Shouldn't I never have a feeling? But that is not the way. Meditation is not going to keep you from feeling. It's actually just going to make you feel more intensely, but you're going to feel faster. So you move through to the new now, which is where our bliss and fulfillment hang out. Okay. So Christopher's saying, I feel enlightened. I seriously do, Emily. Amazing. This is coming from someone who has attempted to kill himself many times. I'm sorry to hear that, Christopher. And cared about what others thought about me and lived through the external world. There was a shift inside of me. I see the world very differently. I operate from within now. I'm so happy to be around others and just so many good things. Wow, Christopher, that's huge. And bravo to you for doing the work and for bravely facing what I'm sure are some really intense feelings. It's, I have so much compassion for people that are dealing with extreme anxiety and extreme depression. And I know how intense it must feel to really get to that point in life where you are considering ending it. And just to just throw this out there, that if anybody watching this or anyone doing the M word, it starts to feel that, or if like the unstressing gets super intense, I cannot encourage you guys enough to make sure that you reach out to a support system, reach out to a therapist, reach out to a doctor, get your friends and family supporting you, and know that we're all cheering you on and loving you and that you're not alone. And there's lots and lots of resources to help you, but don't feel like you have to do this alone. I know that the unstressing can be intense, but that's really beautiful. And I'm glad that you've made such a dramatic turnaround. And sometimes looking death right in the face is the thing that really wakes us up. And sometimes that happens voluntarily, sometimes it happens involuntarily, that we hit these, crisis moments in life or these rock bottom moments. And then, if we make it through, then it gives us this whole new perspective and insight, which is really beautiful. So thank you for sharing that. So Jacqueline's saying, I love the last point about what bliss actually is. That was super helpful. Awesome. I agree. And this, just to clarify, bliss is not a synonym for happiness. Bliss is the piece of you that knows that everything's okay. And it's possible to experience bliss even when you're sad. It's possible to experience bliss even when you're happy, even when you're jealous, even when you're angry. And it might be 0.001% of you that's experiencing bliss, but it's always there. And what this meditation practice is going to do is it's going to breathe life into that bliss, into that background of bliss, which is going to free you up to experience the entire spectrum of emotions. So I love hearing this. I love you guys sharing what your key takeaways were and how you found the session. So keep them coming. I really love it. So Antonella is saying, awesome session. I loved how you said meditation will not make you simply blissful, but instead resilient to the stresses. Awesome. I love that. Okay, so Kim says her key takeaway is that we're all different. Just go with it. And the point here is improving life. Yeah, we meditate to get good at life, not to get good at meditation. And so, yeah, there's some techniques and some guidelines, but inside of that, it's kind of a choose your own, well, it's not choose your own adventure, but it's like, I'm going to give you the lines to color inside of, but inside you get to choose the crayons. You get to go on your own journey. So Lee's biggest takeaway is that I'm moving from need looking for fulfillment and into fulfillment looking for need. That's right. And then just watch as that starts to change everything in your life. And here, just to, I mean, we kind of did this on the webinar when we talked about the dinner party exercise, but think about the people in your life who you really like being around. Do you like being around the person who's like always late and broke and sad and frustrated and stressy and always needs your help? Or do you sometimes like to be around someone who's early and prepared and creative and has a suggestion to share with you? My hypothesis is it's nice to hang around with people that have something to offer, something to contribute. And Trisha is saying, great session. I love the time clarifications that we celebrate doing. Oh, and then we watch for our life factors to change in our life. Oh, and she said she is sleeping better and you're less stressed overall already. Good job. Amazing. And Shaylin saying, my key learning has been that meditation is not meant to make you numb. The feelings are good and make life rich. That's right. And so Alexandria is saying, helpful session, particularly appreciated. There we go. Okay, that's much easier. Particularly appreciated being reminded, where did it go? To celebrate your successes rather than worshiping your non-achievements. That's right. And that's a good rule for meditation. It's also a really good rule for life. You know, you can't build on top of success you don't acknowledge. So let's celebrate how far we've come. You guys were 16 days in. A lot of people would have already quit this thing by now. A lot of people might have quit this thing by now, but you haven't. You're in it. You're doing the work. And it's work, right? So celebrate that. So Julie is saying, the takeaway from the session is I now give myself permission to be human. That means it's normal for me to get stressed or sad. Hooray. Just this piece of information will help me move forward. Yeah, this is a big one. It's really, really important. Otherwise, we're like holding ourselves to some like unattainable standard of being some blissy angel bliss bunny. And that's not the point. That's not life. If there's going to be light, there has to also be dark. You can't see white unless there is black. You can't see black unless there is white. So we have the whole range of emotions and feelings. Yeah, that's really good. So thank you guys so much for your time. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for trusting me to lead you on this journey and on this quest. It really, truly is an honor. And know that I'm really committed to helping you through this journey. I want to support you however I can. I love being in the tribe. I love how much you guys are supporting each other. So let's keep that coming. And I'm going to be sending you guys so much love. I'm going to be sending you guys all a big love bomb. And I'll see you on our next Q&A in a little bit. Bye.